All I'm saying is if I'm going to wear a mask in the store, it's very important that everyone else wears a mask in the store. There's no point in me wearing a mask and everyone else is out there sneezing left and right. Yeah, no. Yeah, we'll talk about this later. Hello, and welcome back. Yes, it is unofficially hoodie season, but I'm always in fashion and I cannot help that. So, today, additional CSS properties. Today, we will be covering, looking down at the list, line height, letter spacing, and word spacing using CSS. All right, let's add a little markup to our actual page, and we will then add the actual styles as well. Open up your Visual Studio Code, and let's get started. I know, I keep using that. All right, so we've got Visual Studio opened up. Let's go on ahead, give you a chance for that. And we're going to create two files here. Let's go on ahead. Here's the text transform and decoration from the previous video. And let's see, what are we working with here? Line height. So let's just give it that name. Line height, letter spacing, and what did we say? Word and word spacing? Word spacing. Yeah, let's add that. Super long name. You can name this anything you would like, but I'll just keep it just like this so you know exactly what we're working with. And let's add the same exact thing without making an error with the actual name. Okay, word spacing dot CSS. First try. And let's close this out and actually open that up with Visual Studio Code extension, which is live server. And now we can close that, and that looks good. And if you are coming from our previous tutorials, you can go on ahead and you already know exactly what I'm going to do with the boilerplate HTML. We are going to use the exclamation mark or point. And here we go. Let's see here. All right. Let's give it a little title here. Let's give it line height. And what else are we doing here? So line height, letter spacing, and word. Letter and word spacing. Super long title. It will definitely not fit in that actual tab, but that is quite all right. All right, let's add a little bit of markup. Okay, and I think we'll just copy the actual title. There we are. And below that, we are going to add a paragraph and some dummy text. So we all know from the previous videos, if we want any type of dummy text, we can go on and use the lorem and the actual amount of text that we want after that. So I'll go with 30. And still nothing on the screen, so let's refresh that. Live server sometimes needs a little kickstart. And I'll go on ahead and just so we can see the extra stuff on the actual screen. There we go. I'll press that down. Okay. All right. Now, well, of course, our styles is not going to work unless we actually add that. So let's go to our HTML page and add the CSS file to the HTML file. And all we need to do is just give the actual name or location as to where it actually is. All right, nice long name, but it is there. And let's go on ahead and right click on the tab and split that down so we can actually look at the markup and the actual CSS as well. Okay, let's see here. So what I'm gonna do is just do a universal selector just to get rid of any margins and any padding. This is just gonna zero out everything. And actually, And box sizing, don't think we covered this as of yet, but that's pretty much going to allow any actual actually it's margins and padding will actually keep the same dimensions for whatever the width is for any containers. But let me just add that, and we'll be covering that later on. But now we can just see everything's just kind of flattened out for the actual markup to the left. But let's go on ahead and address the paragraph that we have. All right, so let's see here. We have, looking here, one paragraph. Let's put a border around this just so we can kind of see what we're working with. And let's say we'll make it 5 pixels. Make sure it's solid, and it will be black. All right, so we can see that on the screen to the left. And what we're going to do here is, let's see, so line height's the first thing we were working with. So let's add the line height property. So here we have line height. There's the property. But now what we want to do is try to figure out, what are we going to use? How big are we going to actually make the line height? So the line height is actually going to be each individual line, the spacing between each line. All right, so what we can do here, let's add an actual number in here. Let's say 20 pixels. And now if you look to the left, now there's 20 pixels of space between the actual lines. And if I go on ahead and use, let's say, EM, okay, it's a little bigger. If I use 3EM, and now it's even bigger. Okay, so there's your line height. You can also use a 1. You can use a, let's see if we can do 0.5. Use 0.5 to tighten, super tight line height right there. Okay, so let's go on ahead and we'll just keep it at 2EM. So that is pretty much your line height. And now what we can do is move on to the letter spacing. So let's take a look at the actual spacing within each individual letter. So the property is going to be letter spacing. And what we are going to do is now focus on the actual individual letters of any word on the screen to the left. And I'm going to do 0.2 EM, and let's see what we get here. All right, so we get a little extra space here. Let's bring that up a little bit. Let's go 1M. All right, now the letter spacing is definitely much bigger. Let's see, what if I did 100 pixels? Let's see what we get here. Yeah, that's definitely a lot of space there. So you can always play around with this. It depends on whatever your project is, but at least it gives you a little more flexibility as to what you want to use when you're spacing out your individual letters. So there's your letter spacing. I'm going to keep it at 0.2 EM. And then we're going to move down to the word spacing. And that is just as it sounds. Word spacing is the actual property. And take a look on the screen to the left, and you're going to notice the individual space between the words. And so if I give it a value of 10 pixels, and it looks like the space has increased. Let's get the space between the individual words of 100 pixels. And that's definitely a lot of space again, but hey, depending on the project that you're working on, you never know how much word spacing that you're actually going to need. And that's essentially it right there. Yeah, three new properties that you just added, and we are adding more and more CSS properties and rules to the actual CSS video series. So you definitely want to continue on with that playlist. The more and more HTML and CSS that we cover, then the better you'll actually be getting as an actual developer. We will actually start making some miniature applications. Continue to actually take a look at the JavaScript, because that is really going to help you. We're going to be adding tons and lines of actual JavaScript, and the more you practice with that, the actual better. So subscribe to the channel so you actually can get individual updates on the feeds. And what you also want to do is hit the notifications so you can always be alerted as to when new material is actually being released, so you don't always have to come back and check. You don't want to be left out of the loop. All right, other than that, feel free to leave a comment below or email me directly. And if there's something you want to see or did not get any clarity on, or something you wanted to help me out with, always go on ahead and contact me. Okay. All right. Other than that, full stack out.